That's awesome. Yeah, well, guys, welcome. So we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. I'm excited today. We are going to be covering all of last week, the Las Vegas event training that we had for eXp Realty. We're going to be going over all of the different speakers and slides and what happened there and all that good stuff. We're going to be covering that with you guys here today. So it's going to be a jam-packed session. So jam-packed that I've got to get my guy Curtis Dixon on the line to help me with this, because literally we have 8 hours worth of training that we did last week. They did 2 days worth of 4-hour trainings each day, and we're going to jam it into 1 hour of recap here today. So it's going to be a fun one. I've got literally all the slides that we had from the convention. And so we're going to go through each one of the speakers, obviously go through it a little bit faster than what they did, try and highlight just the top points that we can remember and talk about, and go from there. So it should be a really good one because the event was just amazing. It was on fire. If you guys weren't there, you got to be there for the next one. Be there for eXpCon in October. You don't want to miss these events. This one, I mean, it fired me up. I haven't even stopped working, I think, since I've got back, and just been extremely motivated. So cool. Well, guys, it looks like we got some people now. We got jumping on. Good stuff. We're on Facebook as well. This is the first time I tried doing this, but I've got it going to my business page, and I got it going to Team Disruptor, which is kind of cool. So cool. Looks like, yeah, we're up and running. We are live. So we can get started, guys. Let me get these slides up, and then we'll start everything here. Curtis, before I get these slides rolling, man, give us, what did you think of the event?
Man. So I'll say what I'm thinking about this morning, right? In preparation for kind of sharing my big takeaways. What I'm thinking about is, has anybody ever seen the movie San Andreas with The Rock? If you haven't, what it is, it's about the San Andreas Fault in California, right? Where there's the big earthquake that everybody's waiting on, the big one. And, you know, we've all been told stories of that since we were kids. When I moved to California, my parents were like, oh, it's going to fall off the continent and float in the ocean and you're going to die. Don't go to California, because everybody's been waiting on the big earthquake forever, right? When this movie San Andreas, what happens is when the earthquake finally starts to hit, everybody's kind of freaking out. It starts at like Hoover Dam. And then if you know where Hoover Dam is and you know your geography, it ends with a tsunami in San Francisco. So like that's how the movie ends, right? It's way bigger than everybody thought. That's what I keep picturing after that event. Like, this is way bigger than I thought. So, you know, 2 years ago, Kyle, when we jumped in, and even the last 2 years, you know, you've built a great organization in business. I see Tony Camilleri on this call, who's built a great organization in business. There's a lot of leaders in Team Disruptor who have built something amazing. We're still on Hoover Dam while it's starting to shake. Like, we're just picking up the hints of the first earthquake, and like the dam's just starting to break a little bit. And somewhere down the road, I don't know how long it is, 5 years, 10 years, who knows? We're going to be in a tsunami in San Francisco. Like, that's how far away from the true potential of this thing we are. And honestly, sometimes when you're on Hoover Dam, you're just marveling at that. You're like, wow, this is amazing. This is so cool. I can't believe this. And then you think about what it's going to be. That's what I took away from this event. Like, it is orders of magnitude bigger than I thought it was, from hearing the presidents, the co-presidents of eXp, from hearing Gene Frederick on the board, from seeing the numbers, cash flow from operations, the growth of the company. Like, it's just bigger than I ever thought, man. And the speakers up there, they know it. They knew it. Like, that's what I took away from every single speaker, from Jay Kinder all the way to Glenn Sanford and everybody in between. So that's my thoughts.
I love it. Now, did you mean Gene Frederick, or did you mean Big Papa?
Do you have that slide?
I do have it. We're going to go over that today.
I was looking at the Big Papa stuff. I didn't get any good pictures, but I got a lot of good notes. You know, that's like, it kind of goes with what I was saying too. The number one thing he talked about was patience.
Yep.
That was one of his and persistence, right? I think that was the other P. Maybe it wasn't persistence.
I think it was. So yeah. Okay. So, all right, guys, we'll get started. We got a lot to cover. So the first one I want to cover is the first one that they did at the event. And it was Jay Kinder's presentation. And my gosh, like, you could have probably went back after this one and felt like you got your money's worth, because Jay Kinder just was bringing it. He was probably one of my favorite speakers. I definitely say of the first day, and that's saying a lot because we had a lot of good speakers the first day. But yeah, he did a lot of good stuff. We're gonna try and cover this as quickly as possible. So first off, you know, he talked about kind of some of the averages that he sees in his organization, which I think he's got over 2,000 agents or just shy of it. So he broke it down and he talked about how many deals the average agent closes at 6 transactions annually, which kind of goes with what we expect, right? Everybody's kind of, you expect about a half capper from everybody. Which again is we know it's what National Association of Realtors says. You know, $40,000 is the average agent of a realtor, or the average income of a realtor, which is half of the cap at eXp, $80,000. So 6 transactions annually. Average transaction is worth $135. This is talking about to revenue share, right? So like this is how much in revenue share you get for the average transaction that closes in your line. Each agent that you bring on so is worth about $812 annually. That's a pretty cool stat to know. And his growth rate is at about 7% net monthly growth, net monthly, guys. So like if you're seeing 10% growth on your dashboard, maybe you're seeing 16 agents and you got 160, you know, what it doesn't show you on that dashboard is how many agents exited. So what he's actually saying is he tracks both, and his net number is 7%, which is pretty good to know. Based on his averages, these are what, and this is pretty true, as you would go down the line and you'd ask agents how many, you know, agents they have in their revenue share organization, he was, you know, it would kind of come out to about this much. It was pretty darn close. And so, you know, showing that at about 50 agents, you should be, you know, or you usually are making a little over $3,000 a month in revenue share. Annually is about 40 grand. 100 agents, 600 or 6,000 a month. 250, 16,000. So just, you know, you can kind of like track and kind of set a goal of, hey, how much would I like to make, you know, monthly, or how much do I need to make monthly in revenue share so I can stop doing X or Y or whatever it is. And now you know how many agents you need to get in your organization, right?
You remember what that number was called, Kyle? The name that they gave it?
Was it the freedom number?
The freedom number, guys. The freedom number is, look at this slide, take a picture of it if you got a minute, and figure out what that monthly number is. Which one do you need to be at? And then the agent count you need is your freedom number. Like that's the goal you got to get to. That's what you're striving for. And then just imagine what else you're going to be able to do once you're free, right? How much more you're going to be able to build, how many more people you're going to be able to help, all that good stuff. So I came away with a freedom number personally. Challenge you guys, if you weren't at that event, to make sure you write one down and you bring it to this group, you bring it to your accountability partner, you take it everywhere, and you know your freedom number.
Love it. Now here's a monthly revenue share. They did a comparison just to show you if you're making this much in monthly revenue share, this is what it's like having cash in the bank earning 5% interest. Pretty amazing. Even $1,000 a month in revenue share is like having $240,000 in the bank at earning 5% interest annually. Crazy, crazy amounts of money, guys. Learn the business. If it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter. This is talking about when you start building your organization beyond just, you know, building, you know, getting in, you know, personal qualifiers. When you want to start duplicating, you know, you got to do things that duplicate, like that others can do if you want to have it be able to duplicate. All right. So here's a really crazy thing. So he talks about kind of the power of one more, right? Like so many of us are always so focused on, you know, like getting one, you know, more person ourselves. But if you could just help each person in your organization get one extra person per month, I mean, you can see what the difference is. Literally, if you just get them to recruit, I don't know why it keeps moving on forward. If you can get people to recruit just one extra person a month, right? In 12 months, oops, I can't even see the bottom. I guess y'all probably can't see that. But in 12 months, I can't even see this here. It looks like there's 4,096 people in your organization if everyone recruits one more person per month. And then if everybody recruits 2 more people per month, I mean, you can see that. I mean, that just gets crazy after 12 months. That is the difference between exponential growth. And most people don't understand what exponential growth is. That right there is a solid example of what exponential growth is. You almost can't even comprehend literally the difference of one person, that one person can make until you see something like this, and how much quicker it grows just from 1 to 2 people, right? So pretty crazy there. They talked about a recruit is not a recruit until they've recruited someone. So this is a good mindset for you to have, that so many of us, we get, a recruit on board and we think, oh, great. I got them. They're good to go now. They're with eXp and that's it. Right. And we kind of take our hands off. We go to the next person. We try and, go to recruit somebody else. And it's like with this, you need to have the mindset that they're not even a recruit yet until you've helped them to recruit somebody, right? Because we all know there's attrition in this business, right? Like if you don't get an agent, somebody, in their organization pretty quickly within 3-6 months or sooner, they might be gone, and all that work that you put into getting them here is wasted. So again, just take it out one more step and don't think that like you're done until you've actually gotten somebody on board underneath them.
Hey,
Okay?
Kyle, leave it on this slide for a sec, because I don't know in today's time if we'll get to my favorite presentation of the whole event, which was Michael Reese's. But I just want to highlight something here on this, right? So in addition to a recruit's a recruit, not a recruit until you help them recruit somebody, what will happen when you do that, and I know this to be true, is if you help them get plugged into all of the eXp provided stuff, right? Enterprise, workplace, world, classes, training, and you help them plug into all of the team stuff, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, like all the stuff. When you do that, you will get so much better, and you will help start the retention process for that person. So not only do they have time to attract that first agent, but they have time to stay with the brokerage, make their sales, hit their cap, and attract many, many more agents. So that was a whole nother big part of this event that I took away was, again, where our mindset usually is we think when somebody's at eXp, they're at eXp. Once they're at eXp for the first time, now you have the chance to help them stay at eXp. Like that's actually a big, big takeaway I got from this event too. And this slide really speaks to that.
Yep. Talked about building oil wells in your organization. You're probably thinking like, what the heck is that? Well, what that means is, say, you attract an agent, right? And you attract an agent and then you start helping, they recruit somebody like say John, Mary, Tracy, Cindy, Dave, like this. Well, if even if it doesn't help necessarily you primarily right away, right, to help Cindy, who's maybe on your 5th line, you can still go in there, get somebody and help Cindy, like recruit through Cindy. And the cool thing about that is now you've, one, tapped into her network, which is probably a lot better prospects than you might have had if you've already sifted through all your people. But then if you get somebody under Cindy, like say you help Cindy bring on Dave, now you just fired up Tracy and Mary and John and all the people above her to, keep doing what they're doing and to produce more and to do more, which I thought was really interesting. But there was I don't know. Yeah, here we go. There we go. That's the next slide. So it's, would you rather talk to your new to your new recruit's top 10 sharpest, most ambitious prospects, or 10 random people who may or may not have those qualities? Again, that's part of the drilling oil wells. If you get that new person, Cindy, on, even if she's on your 5th level, the 10 people that she knows, if you can help them, like if you can really find out who those 10 people are and say, hey, I'm going to go there with you, that's probably a better prospect than whoever it might be that's in your list still, because you probably already went through your list a bunch of times. And so, again, if you can get new, fresh, people that you can talk to, that's always going to be better. Plus now you're motivating the people above her. So don't think of it as just like you can only help yourself or only maybe help your person, one below you. Reach out to those people that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 levels down below you and just ask them like, hey, I'd like to help you. I'd like to, get you plugged in, all that kind of stuff. So cool. Taproot, that's also part of the drilling oil wells, until you find the next general. And just real quickly, because again, we're trying to do this on time, guys. General is somebody who goes to the events. That is pretty much the distinguishing factor, is once people go to an event, they are now considered generals, right? So get to an event, be a general. Yeah. And then and then talking about creating a leg, which is basically finding a general and then getting that general, 2 solid generals underneath them, anchoring agents. This was just talked about, how you can get agents plugged in right away, getting them their first rev share check in 90 days, getting them their first recruit in the first week, getting them to share their testimonial. I don't know why I keep saying, Curtis, you're not touching it, are you?
I don't think so, man. I don't know. In the
weird.
Dropbox?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Cause I'm using this right out of Dropbox. So maybe people are in there and I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyways, get them to the next event. So just some different things that you can do to make sure your agents are plugged in.
Hey, Kyle, can I share real quick on one of those bullet points? The big why. So what's funny, guys, is I feel like I have good relationships with most of my level ones, right? My personals. But when Jay was up there talking, I really found myself thinking like, man, you know what? I haven't asked him or her like what's going on in their business and what they're striving for in a really long time. So like, I think I know people's whys. I think I know what they're questing for. But honestly, I decided to go back and try and figure it out again. And I heard some different things than I expected just at that event from my 2 or 3, 4 people that were there. So I challenge you guys to think about that, people that you've already personally sponsored and or people that you're trying to help. Make sure you've gone back and literally figured out their motivation so you can remind them of that and help them get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over time, man, people's motivation just seems to like die off if you're not like, constantly talking about it and pushing them. Like they almost forget why they joined eXp. It's like they were so fired up in the beginning and, it could be 2-3 months even. And they've already kind of like, you can just tell like that fire has kind of died off already. And it's like, man, you just got to keep that thing going, remind them of why they joined, or if you don't even know, find out why they joined, so. Yeah. All right, cool. It's easier to build fast than it is to build slow. Would you rather give 20 presentations individually or 1 presentation to 20 people? They talked about the idea of a PGP, right? A private group presentation, which I think we'll get into a little bit later here. So they talk about launching your business. Instead of starting their business, they talk about launching the business, which basically means that when you get somebody new in your organization, you want, and I don't even know, I might be skipping slides here, but you want to get them plugged in and get them like going as quickly as possible because 1, it creates a better story. It compresses the time frame. So because obviously if they're making money from rev share, you make money from rev share. So it compresses that time frame. And, it creates synergy. You can start people in waves, right? Like you get them kind of going. So you're not just like sporadically kind of helping people. And the way that he talks about doing this, and I'm hopefully not going to skip too far, committing to the super, talk about that. Yeah, I was trying to find where they talk about private group presentations. Well, the private group presentation, guys, it's pretty cool. It's basically where, you get somebody on board and you say, hey, look, I might do like weekly webinars, or we might do weekly webinars every Tuesday or whatever it might be. But you know what? For, you, Susie, I'm going to have a special presentation and I need you to get at least 5 people or 10 people or whatever it is that you can get on. And it's going to be a special presentation just for you and your people. Right. And we're going to get you fired up. That way you get them to like feel something like it's like a special deal. It's for them. And it's not just like a weekly thing, right? Because that's why a lot of people don't show up. They're like, oh, I'll just go the next week. Well, if it's like a special thing, I think you're going to get them a little bit more fired up. You can set a goal behind it. Like, I need you to get this many people. I'm going to be on there. I'm going to bring the fire, whatever it is, right? And that's kind of what the PGP was to me. Anything I missed there, Curtis?
Slide 29, Kyle. Go for it. You'll get the bullet points.
Cool. So yeah, we're going to keep rolling through because this is literally just the kinder presentation. We're already almost 20 minutes in. I like this.
Best of the best though. Like, it's some of the most tactical stuff, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know these slides will be available, and I know they're actually going to make the full presentations available too. So again, that's why we're not going to go through the whole thing, but it would be good eventually to watch it. This was pretty funny. I like that slide. Be relentless. So true. Here you go. Make your list. We all kind of know that, every agent you can think of, sphere of influence, you want to get at least 50, get a list of affiliates, in fact, that's a huge thing that I don't think a lot of agents do. I've actually recruited a ton of agents because of referrals from affiliates, title company, mortgage company. Be sure to build your well
That was
chart.
one of my number one takeaways, Kyle, real quick, just in case we don't get to the Gino presentation. Let me give you 4 things they gave about how to make sure you get a yes, right? With asking vendors for help, because I thought this was really, for me, I took notes on it. I'm going to do it. So when you're asking vendors for help, right, to get you referrals of agents you want to talk to, number 1, he said, be really specific and tell them why you want it. So you say, hey, Mr. Title Rep, I wanted to ask you for a favor. I want to connect with really sharp agents that you think are up and coming in the business so we can talk about growing together, right? So like be really specific and why. Don't give any incentives, disclaimers, or bribes. Don't say, I'll take you to lunch, I'll get you a coffee card, like none of that, because it changes the ask and you're not going to get it. Don't ask by email or text. Make sure you call them or talk to them in person to ask for that referral. And then last but not least, follow up afterwards. Anybody who's willing to connect you, that's willing to help, wants to know how they helped. So those were the 4 things that Gene Frederick gave about how to get referrals from vendors.
Love it. Love it. Private group presentation. Yeah, here it was. Scheduled within the first 3 to 5 days in the business, guys. So that's when they're fired up. And that's when they're going to do the most, kind of work towards this. All right. Invite everyone in the sphere they know, like, and trust you. So inviting 30 to get 10 to show up. Again, that's probably what I think you need to have that dialogue with them, that not everybody's going to show up, right? So tell them, at minimum, you're going to have to get on the phone with 30 people, right? Try and get them 10 to show up. Get them on a Zoom call, right? And maybe you're not comfortable doing it, right? Maybe you recruit somebody, right? And you're not going to be the one that wants to do the presentation. Well, ask your upline leadership. There's got to be someone above you that would be willing to do this for you. If you can get one of your new recruits, to bring on 5 or 10 people into a private presentation, I'm sure there's somebody that would be willing to do that for you, and find out who that person is. All right. Yep. Pay attention. Who's showing interest and asking questions. Yeah, there you go. All right. Cool. So here's an actual invitation script it got. I guess I'll run through it real quick. Hey, Bill, it's Kyle. Look, I don't know if you knew this, but I needed a change. So I've been investigating an opportunity to take my real estate business and income to the next level. I ran across a really sharp guy that has been tremendously successful, and he's working with a highly disruptive real estate brokerage. And you are the first person I thought of. He's going to do a private conference call on Tuesday at 5:00. If I could get you a link to join would you be willing to jump on and give me your feedback? And he talked a lot about that. Jay says that he uses the if I would you all the time. He talks about it right here. If I would you. So get in the habit of saying if I would you. So cool. What else we got?
Quick story that gets results, by the way. It wasn't the result I wanted, but it got me a result. There's this agent in Florida. It's like a $10 million producer. I've been talking to him for like a year, and I'm going to Florida to speak at an event next month. So I was messaging him, and he never responds to my messages anymore. He's just been ghosting me for like half a year. And I just said, hey, Lonnie, if I met you in Orlando, if I flew into Orlando to speak at this event, would you drive down to have a beer with me? And he was like, no, Curtis, I can't make it. Actually, I'll be doing this and this. And I was like, holy cow, this guy responded. So if I would you, very
That's
simple,
right.
but it works.
Yep, it sure does. So yeah, so exactly. They talked about the importance of lunch and learns. If you don't have a lunch and learn in your area, definitely make that a goal of yours to get that set up. Find out who else can help you, find out how to do one. If you don't know how to do one, just make it a commitment that if you don't have something that, you have weekly that you can go to, you are going to start that, because honest to God, like that is probably one of the most important things you can do. If you're not doing it, you're missing a huge opportunity. So that's something super important. Talks about Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just send out a video to watch, create a movement, right? You don't go to church to find your faith. You go to strengthen it. That's also talking about lunch and learns. So important, guys. It's good not only for the people, like even if you know everything about eXp Realty, it's good for you to go just so that way you hear it a different way. Like, you can get an opportunity to present it yourself. You can have others in your line seeing you go to it, so it motivates them to go to it, right? Like people will do what you do. So make sure that you're setting a good example.
Still get chills with that quote. That quote gave me chills when he said it. And
Yep.
That quote gives me chills reading it. And it just reminds you, like, everything you can go to when you can, like, you got to go. Tuesday executive overviews. You got to watch the old Gene Frederick videos. You got to watch Brent Gove. You got to rewatch Kyle Handy. Like, you got to keep doing it to fill yourself up, not to find your faith, but to strengthen it. I loved it.
It's funny. I forget who it was. I was Davin, I think maybe, that did the little example where he went up to people and he was like, "Hey, I'm, Davin so-and-so." And he would give his last name, who are you? And
Oh,
the
it was
person would,
Michael.
oh, that, yeah, he would give his first and last name. Like the person he talked to would give their first and last name. Then he went up to like somebody else. He said, "Hey, I'm Davin," and then that person just gave their first name. And then he went up and said, and nobody knew what was going on at the time until afterwards. And then you realize people do what you do. Like it's in our nature, right? It's like subconscious. You can't even help it. And
Yep.
so you got to set a good example. If you're not going to, every event, if you're not going to the lunch and learns, the people that you attract aren't going to do, they're not going to do it as well. So, it's so important to always remember that. Three-way calls, again, same thing. Like, if you're not doing three-way calls when you're attracting agents, when they join, they're not going to do three-way calls for you, right? Like they're not going to think of it. That's not how they were attracted. So they're not going to attract that way. So make sure, even if you know everything about the business and you can attract people on your own, that you're still using your upline leadership to get them plugged in, because that's what it's going to be taught to the person when they start going out and doing it. So, all right. We've got a few more scripts here. And again, we'll put this out there on Team Disruptor or something, so that way y'all can all have all this stuff so we don't have to go through it. Three-way call agenda, just talked about what happens on a three-way phone call. Recruiting to invite versus inviting to recruit. So basically it's just talking about, like, you can invite 5 people to the lunch and learn and have one person show up. Or if, and that's like assuming, say your lunch and learns on a Friday, right? You could do that. Or you could recruit somebody on Tuesday instead of waiting until that, that lunch and learn happens on Friday, and then get their untapped list. Like, say they join on Tuesday, or at least they make the commitment in their mind to join on Tuesday. You don't wait until Friday to show it to them. Maybe you get them on a three-way, maybe you get them on a private presentation, whatever it is, you recruit them before Friday. And then you say, hey, now that you're committed, like, let's figure out who it is that we can bring in your list to that Friday presentation, so I can help and show you how it works on Friday. That's what he kind of talked about there. That way you can get 5 or 6 people to the event versus, that one person that might not join at that point. So creating urgency, how to, basically, either fear of missing out, right? Like that's one thing that can create urgency, or dangling the carrot, right? Like a new country opening, launching in their area, a relatively unknown in their area, being the first whale in the market, all sorts of ways that you can create urgency. Also let the prospect know that you're meeting with several others in their market and you're just looking to partner with one, right? Like that's all you need is one, but you're reaching out to them first, or whatever it might be, right? And just say, hey, if it's not for you, I totally get it. I got, other people too that, are reaching out to me that I'm going to talk with about it as well, but I'm just looking for one, great person to team up with. All right, let's see. Yep. Welcome call. That's just, getting a couple
I
people.
found that to be gold, by the way, the welcome call, because how many of you guys actually do that? How many of you have sponsored an agent that knows your upline business partners? I guarantee you most of you, the answer is not very many of you. And that's our fault, kind of, and it's your fault too. So like, we'll answer the phone, but you got to put it together and make it happen. Because, at this point, Kyle's got 200 people. Tony Camilleri's got 300 or 400, however many he's got. Like, they're not able to scan their dashboard and find the one person you brought on. But if you text your leaders, Kyle, Tony, those guys, and you say, hey, man, I got a new agent, I want to hook you up, we'll jump in anytime on that phone call. And now they'll be connected to more than just you, which is so, so important. You need to connect them to people in your upline, people in your downline. They need business partners. They need to know your team, because that's what we're selling, right? That's the dream. You're plugging into a team. You're plugging into business partners. Well, make sure they're plugged in, not just say, hey, come to Tuesday. That doesn't help. The calls help.
That's right. So they talk about about how to split up your time, right? So, 25% of your time should be contacting new prospects. 25% of your time should be following up with existing prospects. 25% of your time should be on three-way calls and third-party closes for your team, right? Like trying to get your team to duplicate. 25% of your time is calling your team to promote something and inspire action from them, right? Now, obviously, if you're just starting out, you're a new agent, you can substitute those other, those two bottom 25% if you don't have a big team or even a team yet, to either more prospecting calls or more, following up, or use that as like, I need to be plugged into my people some way, somehow, right? Like I'm going to go to the events that, my people put on, or, my upline puts on, whether it's lunch and learns, actual local events you have to travel to. Just try and be a part of everything. I honestly say that the reason why I'm successful at this was because I like forced myself into the bunch, like into Pat, into, Scott Lewis, into these guys. Like I made myself become a part of them, even though in the beginning I wasn't. Like I didn't know who Pat was, right? And so, but we became now, great friends and family. And I mean, you almost have to do that. Like you have to inject yourself into somebody who's doing this at a high level. So that way, not only do you get, a ton of support and help, but you get motivation. So use that time in the beginning just to like force yourself into it if you have to. All right. Let's see, get in versus let in. Yeah, that's the one thing too. They talked about, hey, we don't need everybody, right? If people don't want to join, don't beat your head against the wall, right? Like you should look at it almost like eXp as an opportunity for them. You're trying to just show them something that could really benefit their life and their business. And if they don't want it, hey, they don't need to be a part of it, right? And so you're doing them a favor by showing this to them. So there's a lot of agents out there. You don't need a single, one single person is not more important than anybody else, right? So creating leaders. Yep.
My favorite slide, my favorite quote of the whole thing. I forgot this completely. And man, if you just approach building your business like that, you will explode. There's no doubt in my mind why all those people up on the stage, you don't know what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of people on the stage. The reason they are where they are is because of that one phrase. That's how they think. That's your job.
That's right.
If you want to build.
Yep. Good leader knows their team's why. You must focus on developing people versus making sales, right? Developing people versus making sales. It's a huge quote right there. Duplicate yourself. Your goal should be for people under you to out earn you. That's a huge thing, right? Like they talked about it. He's like, man, I want my people underneath me to out earn me. I want them to do better than me. I want to pour into them so that way they do better than me. That's a really, really cool thing. And the more that I read,
math, in case you're curious, sorry, Kyle. The only way to catch them is your level 7. You're 6 and 7. Like they showed us so much math. The only way I'm ever going to catch Kyle is my 7. So like, that's how you out earn. So you got to get to 40. You got to build an organization. Like 7 is where you catch them because they were all showing us their money up on stage and it's all about your 7th level.
Well, like Sheila recruited Brent Gove, right? But Sheila's got 4,000 agents and Brent Gove's got 5,000 agents, right? Frederick recruited Rob Flick. Frederick got 7,000 agents. Rob Flick's got 9,000 agents. Like it's definitely possible, right? Like you definitely can do it if you get the right people. They can absolutely out earn you. And so, but yeah, I really think that was kind of cool. My thought too, like, as far as like, developing people, like, and just, thinking of the sense of like giving like all of yourself to people, like not thinking of the money right away. Like I've been real deep on the giving like content out, like blog posts and that kind of stuff. And the more and more I realize like all the people that do well in the content marketing space, it's all the people that like give free stuff. Like they don't care about the money. The money will come if they just give of themselves, right? Like that's what every single person, when you hear them on a podcast or whatever, they say they started out, it's all free. Like they were just trying to like create as much as they could and as much value for people. And then, eventually the money just comes and then ways to monetize it. There's just an abundance of it. And so that's kind of the mindset you have to have with eXp.
The words value, right, Kyle? So this was one quote I took away. I don't remember exactly who said this, but it was so awesome. They said, become more valuable to your friends in real estate than their managers at their brokerage. Mm-hmm. Like if you're the go-to for CMA help, if you're the go-to for how to close a deal, if you're the go-to for negotiations, if you're the go-to for lead gen, if you're the go-to for inspiration, mindset, reset, business planning, all that stuff, they're going to join you on this journey. And if you're not, then you're not given the value that Kyle's talking about, So I loved that quote.
And honestly, guys, I mean, the value doesn't even mean you have to do what, we're doing. You don't have to come out and produce content and blog posts and do a Tuesday Mastermind. You literally don't have to do that. Your value, if you don't want to be a presenter or something like that, can literally just be being a friend of the person, making sure they're plugged in, checking in on them all the time, and just, making sure that they're getting what they need out of this brokerage. Because there's a lot of value in that, right? Like I might be able to give a presentation, but I certainly can't handhold 200 agents, right? So there's going to be a lot of people that fall through the cracks if we don't have people that are like making sure they're plugged in. So your value is just as important as my value, whether I'm presenting or you're, trying to get people to, to the presentation, right? So just always remember that. But they talked about what leaders do. The vision question. Yeah. If we were having this conversation 3 years from today, what would need to have happened both personally and professionally for you to say that this was successful? That is your vision, right? So think about that. 3 years from today, where do you want to be? What has transpired over those 3 years? And then that's going to tell you really quickly what your vision is. Yeah. Recognition. They talk about recognition, modeling success. I think that is a lot of it, right? So there we go. Yep. Cool. Talked about Glenn Sanford. All right, let's jump on to one of the next ones, guys. Let's see. We got Jay Kinder.
Glenn's the only good one. I just went through the other two. There's not any more slides in the other two, really.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk about Glenn. So he gave our 5 to 10 year vision. Like that was his like kind of mantra for his speech. This was
shows you the big brain on Glenn.
Yeah, no this is pretty funny.
For Tom Tobin.
I think he said this quote thinking like all of us as real estate agents were just going to like rah, like excited, and like, I don't think anybody really could like follow Glenn's train of thought. He's just so smart. He's like the whole next level. But, he says the future of eXp Realty is dependent on continual iterations on the value proposition of the individual agent and team and providing them a platform to expand exponentially their business without the limitations of the legacy business structures.
Still laughing, reading it. The only thing I did take away from this was Kyle and I had a few adult beverages and we were talking about what is eXp going to do to keep making sure that we're like ahead of the curve for agents, right? Like we got this rev share, cool. We got this eXp World, cool. What's going to happen next? And all this assures you is that is constantly Glenn's obsession. Like he's like, what is the next value add for agents and teams that I can bring to eXp? And that's a lot of what he talks about in this slide was like the iBuyer offers and the international stuff and all these other things that are value, add value to the proposition for agents.
Yep. All right. So, and then he talks about why, I mean, we honestly are so blessed to be a part of eXp Realty. Like literally, like Glenn saw this right at the exact right time. Like the reason this didn't exist 20 years ago was because the technology didn't exist, right? To do the things that we're doing today. He started building this in the perfect time frame where literally now, like on your cell phone, you've got a faster internet connection than what you could get at like a business, 20 years ago, right? When it was just like what do you call those modems? The 8010 job something blob modem or something. He knew all the technical terms. Like it was so funny that the one that like bing bong boom whatever, like he knew the whole thing. But he was like, back then you couldn't have done any of this stuff that we do today, but like it's funny because a lot of these companies have not adopted those benefits. Like they're not utilizing all of the technology that we have today to like do things like create a cloud, office, which again, that is where the business is heading. And so anyways, using social networks, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's so funny. Like, I mean, we all are doing it. We're all users of this technology, but yet if you look at most brokerages, they actually don't even use the technology that people today are using. So it's really kind of crazy. But yeah, it's better than ever. And it's only going to keep getting faster, better, cheaper, and more efficient. That's, technology in a nutshell. But he also says that it can be a red herring sometimes. And we all know this, like even in our real estate businesses, you almost go down that path where it's like technology can be too much and you almost don't end up using everything, or it even becomes a distraction, and you get away from what the real, aspect of this business is. So he says major well-funded real estate players touting technology as their unique selling proposition when agents and brokers want a long-term plan, not a tech that will marginally improve their business and will be outdated or totally replicated in a couple of years. What he basically said was that like any technology that exists today, even if eXp didn't have it today, the way technology works is it can be duplicated, copied, created within about a year or two. Like it's automatically, like technology just becomes so outdated so fast that what might be good today is probably not even going to be good a year or 2 years from now. So like throwing technology solutions at something is not like the end all be all. Agents, especially real estate agents, they want a long-term solution, which in our case is having, like rev share or like some different business model where it's like going to create something completely different than just what having a new CRM would create for us in our business, right? So a lot of these companies, they're just touting technology like, oh, well, we do this or we're building this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't solve the fundamental problem that most real estate agents face. So there's not a single cutting edge technology in real estate that won't be off the shelf technology in the next 2 years if it's not already off the shelf technology.
Get to slide 7 and then we'll probably.
Yeah. You mean 8? I was just on 7.
Oh, 8. Yeah. Sorry.
So 8. Yep. Some eXp numbers and predictions. 10 years, 400,000 eXp agents worldwide, guys.
Tsunami.
10 years, 2029. It's coming, guys. 30 plus countries. This is Glenn Sanford himself, right? Like this isn't like, Jay Kinder, like thinking that this is this is Glenn himself. 30 plus countries, vertically integrated across the value chain, meaning that, we're going to offer all sorts of different services and extra add-ons, not only for the consumer, not only for the agent, but then for eXp Realty to also make money. And so, numerous complementary verticals. All right. That's, I think, let's see, agents. Role. Yep. Cool.
Pretty much it. He talks about iBuyer stuff coming out.
So we'll talk about iBuyer separately. And you said that was pretty much it, right? Brent Gove, didn't have anything in his. Yeah.
On to day 2.
Day 2. So we could go through some of these. Like Gogo Bethsky's was really good. She talked about social media, mainly Instagram and Facebook. Like basically the way they broke up the presentation or the event is they had 2 4-hour-long sessions from 2:30 to 6:30 day 1, 2:30 to 6:30 day 2. That was all about agent attraction, growing your revenue share business. But then on day 2, they had an optional thing that you could go into from 9 o'clock till noon. And it was going to be a sales training, right? Like they had a few different speakers. They had Gogo Bethke talking about social media and how to grow, your real estate sales business with social media. Kyle Whistle did an awesome presentation about video and how to incorporate video into your real estate sales business. They did talk about Wedgwood, which is the iBuyer program for eXp, and we'll talk a little bit more about that one. And then I think these ones, Bill Price and Gene were from the afternoon session. But real quick, let's go through the iBuyer one because I know a lot of people were interested in iBuyer stuff. Okay, so basically everyone should know what an iBuyer is. It's a company that uses technology to make an offer on your home instantly. And it's going to make an offer on your home within minutes or days, sight unseen, based on a proprietary valuation model. If you choose to accept the price, you can close in as little as a couple days. That's basically what an iBuyer is. It's like Open Door. It's like, OfferPad. Zillow, I think, is coming or has a program. So anyways, this is going to be eXp's program here. Talked about, these are the different ones here. Perch, OfferPad, there you go. All right, so they talk about a few different ways how this is going to help real estate agents in our business. And one, it's just going to give us an extra option, right, for our clients that if they wanted to, sell their property instantaneously, like they didn't want to do the, traditional put it on the market, but yet they did reach out to you, or maybe you have some relationship with them. Well, now you can actually still capitalize on that particular transaction where maybe in the past you would have lost it to like a direct offer kind of a thing. And the coolest thing about it is, now correct me on this, guys, this was the one part I didn't fully understand. I guess, do they pay you a commission on it for finding them and they give it back to you when the house is rehabbed so you can earn your 3% on the listing side of it then too? I didn't know if it was both of those. I know that you for sure get it on the listing side when it's all done, but on the front end, is there any benefit to it there? Does anybody know that?
You get the double commission. You get both, like you just said.
I did hear him say that. I was just like, God, I was almost like kind of like, it's almost too good to be true. I mean, if you think about, but I mean, it's awesome, that you are going to basically get the commission. Wedgwood will pay you a commission almost as like a finder's fee for getting them the deal, right? It comes out of their payment. And then when they rehab the house, which they are the what is it? The number one buyer of properties across the nation. I think they're the number one buyer from Home Depot. They said something like that. So they do a lot of
supplies across the nation from Home Depot.
Yeah. Yeah. They do a lot of fix and flips. And he actually had a video. They showed a couple like properties, like they've got a pretty nice office. Let me see here. Yeah. Here's like some of their properties that they've done, right? Like a before and after. They make some beautiful looking properties. And so the coolest thing is when that house is done, you're already earmarked on that deal. So then you are now going to be the listing agent when that house comes for sale, which how easy do you think it's going to be to sell that type of a house versus that type of a house, right? Not only that, but you can find a lot of buyers. If you list this, these are always the properties you can do an open house on, get a ton of buyers from it. So it's just a great opportunity for eXp agents. And the cool thing too is, let me see here, go through it kind of quick. Let's see. Yeah, here's I think this wasn't, these are different iBuyers. I don't think that, yeah. And then this is where Westwood's at. So here's the market, or Wedgwood's at. This is the markets that they're in. You can see here. And I mean, they're constantly expanding. They're already doing a test market with California and eXp. And so, and from what I understand, this is exclusive to eXp, right? Like Wedgwood is only just going to be eXp. I didn't think they, said that they work with any other real estate companies. In the past, the way they've grown their business is from individual agents. They're the company that goes out and like tries to find these agents that are, going to be willing to help them out just on a one-on-one basis. Well, now finally they've got a partnership with eXp, which is just going to help, Wedgwood scale their business, but it's also going to help us with our business and getting an iBuyer program into it. The way it's going to work, and the program's not up and live yet, is you would go to ibuyer.expenterprise.com. And there's actually like a portal, like you can see here, like this is what it looks like. Again, it's only available right now as a trial in California, but it's, super easy. You're going to have a submit property button here, and you can, put in some details about the property. You're going to need to put in some pictures of the listing, some specific pictures, and then you submit it. Here you go. It talks about how to submit it there. And then literally, you'll have some that say awaiting offer, offer received, and then accepted, right? And then, I mean, they close, pretty much right away from what I understood, within, however quickly they can do it, but it's all cash, so it'll close as quickly that this title can clear it. And then you get paid, they start, flipping the property. And then as soon as the property's ready again, you get that listing ready again. So, anything I'm missing, guys? I know I'm covering it kind of quick because we're running short on time. It's already 9:45. But Curtis, did I miss anything?
Nope.
Yep. List back with you. So here he goes, where he talks about listing back with you.
No, it's good.
No, I think that's it, right? Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. They're going to talk more about it in eXp Con. And again, because they're still fleshing out a lot of stuff, guys. Like, so, I mean, we're still probably, I would guess, 6 months before this is like mainstream, probably would be my guess. Wouldn't you say, Curtis?
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure. It's just something to start getting good at now, right? So start trying out the iBuyers in your market, start learning the stuff, start figuring it all out. So when we get ours, we know how to use it. We know how to be better with it for our sellers, than anybody else out there. So it's just another thing they're bringing to add value for the agents, but they're doing it specifically for us to be more successful and help our clients.
The one thing I thought was interesting too, is that the way that Wedgwood works, from how I understand it, is they work like Wedgwood's like this big company, and they actually have different investors depending on the needs of the property. And so like they work with, of course, fix and flip investors, but they also work with buy and hold investors. And so like, it might not be a property that needs a ton of work. Like it might not be super, distressed or whatever, but even if it's a potential for a good, like buy and hold type of a property, you can get a direct offer on that as well. So like, it might be an F property that a fix and flip will want, or it could be a C property, and you'll put what type of condition, and based on the photos and all that kind of stuff, they're going to see it. And if it's a good property that meets, fix and, or the buy and hold, they can offer your seller that offer as well. So they've got a couple of different ways. I don't know exactly what that means for you as the agent. You're still going to get paid on it for the sale, but of course, in that case, like if they're holding it for a rental, I don't think you get the opportunity to list it, obviously, but either way, it's still a pretty cool thing that we're going to have like multiple ways to help our clients down the road. So And also they talked about too, some, like, I don't know, they didn't really show too much of it, but a tool that basically would say like, we will pay X amount of dollars for any home in this neighborhood, right? Didn't they say something about that, Curtis? Where they were like, they'd give like almost like a buy box, right? For like any home in that area, like, because this is what rentals would be for in that area. And it almost gives like agents the ability to go out and say like, if I can find a home or a seller that's, willing to sell their home in this area, I know that I can get paid a commission on it. And so it's like an ability for you to kind of go out there and target more deals as well. Whether you go, door knock or whatever, you already have somebody that's willing to buy it that will buy it. So that was something that they talked briefly about. I don't know all the details on it, but that was something to point out and note. All right, Big Papa, I wanted to get to this one. Big Papa Gene Frederick, guys. This is probably one of the funniest presentations. He walked in literally with an entourage of 4 bodyguards, dressed in black with sunglasses on, a little earpiece. And he walked in looking just like this with like the mink coat, the gold chain. And he walked in, and before he gave his presentation, he is no longer known as the legend. He is now Big Papa. All right. So his presentation was awesome. He talked about, the freedom that they've got, now they went to Disney World and had an amazing experience there. I forget what they called that service that they signed up for, but literally they passed up all the fast pass lines and, just because of what eXp provides. They would have never paid that much before, but now they've got the ability to do whatever they pretty much want. But yeah, here you go, Curtis. Persistence, action, patience, and asking for help, right? That's probably the hardest one, right? And so many people are afraid to ask for help. Those are the 4 keys to success at eXp. And here it says too, is it's also creating great habits, right? Creating great habits. All right. Persistence, talking about grit, not IQ. For anybody that knows Pat Hayes, honestly, I mean, that's his story in a T. Is like, I mean, he's got so much grit. Like, he talked about a story about Pat about just trying to get up and skiing. He literally like probably fell 30 times trying to get up and go water skiing probably a week or 2 ago. But like, anybody that knows Pat knows that he's not going to stop. And then come to find out, like, I guess after he had gotten up and like later that day, that he was trying to do skiing on kid skis. They were kid skis the whole time. And so, but he ended up getting up and, on kid skis and skied for like 10 seconds. And then he was done. And then he was fried for the next like 3 days, he said. But like, anybody that knows Pat, like, that is Pat, right? And that's why he's successful with eXp. If you're going to be successful with eXp, you got to take on that same mentality, right? All right. Great leaders inspire others to take action. Yeah, I have a dream. Let's see, what else? Anything I'm missing here that you want to point out from Gene's?
Pretty much it from Gene's was just that Papa. And this was the how to ask for help slide that I talked about.
Yep. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, you talked about that one. All right, good stuff. Let's see. What else do we got? Bill Price.
Nothing. Go to the, no offense to Bill. It was good stuff, but there's nothing in the slides really.
Yeah, nothing in the slides. Yeah. Which one? What's the other one?
Go to the, go back and go to the day 2 second file.
Yeah, there we go.
So we got 10 minutes, right? There's numbers in Kevin Control. I think there's a couple powerful slides. There's a couple announcements in Stacy and Dave's. And then at Mike's, the last slide tells people to text the number to onboarding. So it'd be hard to recreate Mike's presentation our way. But if you get to this one has some good stuff, I think.
Yeah, real quick, guys. I'm not going to go through all the numbers because I definitely can't do as good of a deal as Kevin Cottrell did out there. But a lot of us, I'm just going to tell you what he talked about. A lot of us get those questions from agents that just don't know what they're talking about, or maybe they truly are curious about like our financials because they hear so much crap out there in the market about, oh, well, you're losing money and, yada, yada, yada. Well, he definitely dispels all of those myths. Squashed him. Like, if you can understand what he talks about in this, which it might take you watching it 5 times, right, for you to really, really get it, you will never have to worry about that objection again. And basically what he talks about when we get down to
cash flow from ops, I think
here. This cash flow from ops. This is basically like saying how much money eXp is making without worrying or without taking into account the stock that gives out. Because if you think about it, like, the stock that we're giving out is not actually like real money that's hitting our book. It's not cash flow that's coming out. It's just, basically the company being distributed amongst different owners, different agents. But it's not like a true cash flow type of expense. But when people see it, like, we have to report it that it is. And so that's why it looks like we're having a loss. But if you look at this, like he talks about like how much our actual cash flow is year over year, this is like if you were, analyzing your business, your real estate business, and you took your commissions and you subtracted your expenses. That's what most of us consider like if we make money or don't make money, right? We don't all have to factor in like, well, I'm giving out, stock in my real estate business to these people. So like, that's what this cash flow from ops basically is. And what he's showing is that in 2016, these numbers over here on the right are what we earned in the fourth quarter alone. And then this is what we earned for the entire year, right? So what's crazy to look at is that like in 2017, we earned more cash flow, meaning that our revenue was higher than all of our expenses, and we're a debt-free company with no debts to pay, right? So we literally made $1.7 million in the fourth quarter of 2017, which was more than what we made in all of 2016, right? And then if you looked at 2018, we made more in the fourth quarter in 2018 than what we made in all of 2017. And then you look at 2018, we made more in the fourth quarter, or we're estimated to make more in the fourth quarter of 2019 than we made in all of 2018.
That's the first 2 quarters. So if you look at the bottom, he put together Q1 and Q2 of this year. We've already made more cash than we made all of last year.
Yep. It's crazy. So, I mean, you can see, guys, we are making a ton of money as a company. eXp Realty is banking money as a company. And I think that's so important to note. But then if we go back up, you can kind of look, and he goes into more detail about how you get to that cash flow number. And so again, we don't have time to go through all of it, but it is important. That presentation, I've got it recorded. I'll probably be putting it up on my YouTube channel here later today. But I think eXp, they probably have a better version of it also. But I just know that I want to get it up there because it was so important. It was so interesting to hear how he explained it. So.
Yep.
Anything else that I missed there, guys, that anybody wants to share?
Chris Fournier explained it in the chat. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah. Perfect, Chris. Thank you. All right. Michael Reese, we'll just go to the last slide because I want everybody to know this.
Yep.
So he talked a lot about systems and processes. I liked this, you're only as strong as your weakest link. He truly, you can tell he's like, the epitome of that, right? Like he is like so focused on making sure that every aspect of his processes and systems are like rock solid. And he actually gave a very, very helpful tool that I think everybody needs to be aware of. I think you should take it. I just went through the whole course myself. Doesn't take very long, honestly. But if you text onboard to 31996, he's going to send you a link that you click on, put your name, email, all that kind of stuff. And then it's going to email you access to a course that you can take that gives you everything you need to know, or a lot of it, for onboarding as a new agent. And I think that, even if you know everything, the coolest thing about this is now you can send this to new agents in your organization. And let me just show you real quick, because I think we've got some time, right? Like a little bit, how good this program looks, right? So it comes from Digital President. All right, so check this out. Here we go. Where is it?
Kyle, this is Tony. Did he mention if like this is something that we'll be able to keep using? I mean, do we pay for this, or like what? I mean, is it?
I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine that he would take it away at this point. I mean, it seems pretty awesome that he just gave this out to everybody. But I'm not going to speak for him and say it's going to be available forever. But it's definitely available now. But you can basically see it's a learning management system. They're all like 2, 3, 4, 5, quick bite-sized trainings, but they talk about everything, right? Like setting up your Regis membership, and they have like awesome videos to go along with it. So like, here's one.
Regis membership, which is your global professional meeting space. All agents with eXp Realty get access to a Regis membership. The Regis business lounges are free to all eXp.
So you can see that. I mean, here's, he talks about setting up your sky slope, accessing the eXp University. And what's kind of cool, and this is why I've only made it 61%, is once you finish this, you have to wait a day before you can go to step 2. So now, like I did all that yesterday. So now I can go to step 2 and finally start watching this. And then step 3 is actually starting your agent attraction plan. He goes over wealth chart, scheduling a PGP, scheduling a 3-way call, becoming a general. I mean, so again, the basics of agent attraction, but it's all there, right? And so this is really good. I think everybody, if you're a leader, you need to first understand how this all works. So do it yourself so you can understand how it works. And then make sure that you're promoting this. Like, send it to any new agents that you've signed up in the last 2 months. Because even if you think that they know everything, they probably don't know everything. I learned actually a couple of things going through this, right? Or at least I learned how to, explain it a little bit better. And so, so I thought that was super cool. Plus, when you sign up for this, like, let me show you this. I think everybody should sign up for he's doing a webinar on Thursday. And let me see. Yeah, it comes. So when you get this, you'll get this email. It says, your name, here's your onboarding training, right? And at the bottom, you can register for a Zoom webinar here. And what their Zoom webinar is it's talking about how they use social media and marketing funnels for agent attraction. So like, let me see here. This is what so I registered for it. It's on Thursday. Yeah, here you go. So it's Thursday, the 29th at 6 p.m. Central Time. And basically you register for it. It's the social media plan and funnels I'm using to attract agents. That's, awesome, right? I can't wait to hear what Michael Reese has to say about that. So I think everybody should be, joining in on that. And you can only join in on that after you text that number, after you get that email, and then you want to sign up for the webinar. So make sure you're doing that. All right, let's see. Get him back on board here we go. Yeah, okay, cool. So there we go. So they talked about that. And then finally, we'll wrap up with Stacy Onan and Dave Kennord. All right. So they were here. Let's see. What do we want to talk about? They talked about transactions. I know that, right?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Anything you want to share specific to their presentation, Curtis?
The last 2 slides, I think.
Yeah.
Number 1, they announced commercial division.
Yep. They announced the commercial division. That's going to be coming. It's not here yet, but they made I don't know, like, they didn't go into the details, but they were like, hey, this isn't just going to be like, okay, well, we do commercial, because we've already do commercial, but they were saying there's going to be some pretty exciting and special things that's going to make us a force to be reckoned with in the commercial division. Because right now, like, people that join for commercial, it's really, I don't hear people's joining specifically because of it, but the way they made it sound is like what they're working on and the partnerships and the tools and systems, it's going to be specific where people are going to want to join eXp for commercial.
Disruptive, high value proposition, all that good stuff.
So yeah, they didn't go into a lot of detail, but they did say they're working on that. And then referrals and being a referral agent. I don't know the specifics again there. Did they talk really specifics, or
they said they're going to form a referral company that allows for agents to still be, it sounds like, to still be a part of eXp, but not have to work deals anymore. And you can just refer out and still be at eXp. So if you're like an old agent with a database, you now have some value, some way to still make money just by referring out. So
gotcha. Cool. Well, there you go. So that was it, man. 10:01. We did it, Curtis. What did you guys think? And now we'll if anybody needs to leave, go ahead and leave. But I'd like to leave this open for people that were there that maybe want to comment on anything that we missed, or, just what their thoughts were of the event.
Kyle, it's Tony. Hey, man, that great presentation. That was awesome. I just want to just say, really, you guys covered everything, but being at the events, all I can say is that even myself doing this for, since, I guess, going on almost 3 years in December here, or 3 years in December, the events are everything. It's like, if you want to do this, it's really, really going to be tough to try to build it by sitting at home, not coming to these events. When I look at anybody that's actually making money, they were at the event, and I know we all see that every time we've gone to the big training or the shareholders or the eXp Con, you're always going to see the top revenue share producers for sure. So you just have to basically ask yourself a question: how serious are you about doing this? And are you going to let this opportunity just fly by you and just, be like, oh yeah, it's one of those things. Had a chance, but I let it go. When you go to the event, it's hard to explain what it does to you. Other than it's just, you get that energy, you get that feeling, you meet other people, you hear their stories, and then you get practical information, obviously, that you've presented, but also the relationships that you build with other agents that are there is definitely you're going to utilize and leverage those to, because the key to this business is three-way calls. The key to this business is getting somebody in front of the information and then get them on the phone with someone else. And yes, we have upline and things like that, which are great, but there may be someone else at the event that you would meet that is more relatable to that particular person than maybe someone that's in your upline. And so you just want to leverage that, and getting to the events is really huge. It re-energizes you. I mean, even myself, as excited as I am, and I am focused, we're making this happen, it still changes me every time I go. And, I'm building, like I said, the relationships with people like Kyle and Curtis, we get a chance to see each other. Although I didn't get a chance to see Curtis this time. It was so busy and crazy, man. The biggest event I've ever been to with eXp. But I just want to say that, guys, I mean, it is worth the investment. And, if not this, what else are you going to do? Like, where are you going to find an opportunity that could change your life like this? It's just not possible. I mean, the magnitude of what we saw last week it's mind blowing. I mean, I knew it was great, but I mean, there was a guy, we went to that. I don't know if you guys were in the broker session where, building brokerages or approaching brokers and teams. And there was a guy in front of the room. I've never seen him, don't know his name. And they asked what his rev share was. He's from Cleveland. And he said his income was $72,000 last month. Here's a guy I don't even know. And I'm fairly, I feel like, involved. So incredible, man. So I just encourage you, make a decision. The next event is coming up quick. I mean, it's October 2nd through the 4th. So get there.
It was cool. So yeah, that's one of the things too we didn't talk about. But yeah, at the beginning of the whole conference, Brent asked everybody who has more than 25 personals or an organization of 200 or more to walk up to the stage and just give their name and how long they've been with the company and all that. And I think he was even overwhelmed by how many people have accomplished that feat, like that he didn't even know existed. Like, because he was probably thinking, there'd probably be 20, 30 people or something like that. It might take 5-10 minutes to roll through it all. But like there was 80, 90,
almost 70 or 80 people, and it took 14 minutes. I recorded the whole thing.
Yeah. And it was people that I don't even know who they were. Just like Tony said, like I'd never even heard of at least half of the people that were telling, oh, I've got, 650 agents in my organization. I'm like, I have never even heard your name. Like, it's pretty crazy, to see that and know that it's possible for every single one of us. And I truly believe that in 2-3 years from now, if Brent was to ask that, to have that same thing happen, there would be 1,000 people, right? That would have to go up on stage, just because that is how quickly we're growing. And that's just how it's happening, right? Like there would be a ton of people, and it's like, are you going to be one of those people or not? Because it's still fair game for anybody. And so that was really cool. We did celebrate Pat Hayes for hitting the 2 comma club, which I'm sure a lot of you guys probably saw the video that I posted up there with Glenn Sanford. And Pat had just hit $1 million in earned revenue share over his 4 years of being here. Pretty amazing feat, guys. And the crazy thing is so it took him 4 years to get to $1 million. Next year, he'll hit $1 million in 1 year all by himself, in revenue share. So pretty crazy to see how that works.
Hey, Kyle, real quick, back to the people on stage. One of the things that blew me away, because we've been here for 2 years, right? And now there are people on this call that have been here for 2 months and just got here. There were so many people that had built organizations so fast. That's what blew my mind. Like there was a guy in New York was like, I've been here for, 2 months and I have 79 personals. I was like, my jaw dropped. Like I didn't, I never thought that was even possible, much less an opportunity. Like I've never thought of it like that. And there were people out there just like blowing away these ceilings and constructs and boxes I had built in my mind. And I was like, man, if I was starting today, could I get 79 personals in 2 months? What would I have to do to go get 79 personals in 2 months? Like, how did that guy do that? And once you know it's possible, then your mind starts thinking, and then you start dreaming again. And so for those of you guys who didn't hear that stuff, just know anything is possible. Like everything you think, man, that's too crazy. No, it's not. Somebody did it already and they were on that stage. Somebody got here and 6 months later, they're making 15 grand a month in rev share. Like that's possible.
So I want to go, like you said, Curtis, there was a common theme and a common pattern. And I mentioned this yesterday on our call yesterday. And a lot of those people, they got up there and they were at least 2 year, like like our main speakers, not the people that came up, but they were at least 2 years in. and they were at least 2 years. So that's another thing. Be consistent and stick to it. Be patient. They were at least 2 years in, and the numbers. So like you always mention, Curtis, I'm a high D and a high C. So the numbers stood out to me. And there's 2 points. Like we had, like to me, Michael Reese was very talented. And not to take anything from our leaders, but the leaders, they weren't showcasing talent. They were showcasing grit and persistence. And they had 20, 30 personals, but it like multiplied exponentially. And I was just blown away by those numbers. Like everybody got up there. I think there was one person that had over 50 personals. But somebody had maybe 25 personals, and the number underneath was like thousands. It was crazy. It was insane.
I want to share something real quick, guys. I forgot we didn't share Rob's presentation because he didn't really have a presentation, but he did share this one slide that I wanted to show everybody. This is Rob's organization. Like you said, so I mean, this is still quite a bit, right? But like he recruited 87, which has 65 are still active, which 43 of those are like qualifiers, right? Like they've done a deal in the last 6 months. But then you look at this. 282, 758, and this is his different 7 levels. So he's got 43 on his level 1, but 2,400 people on his level 7. He said that so the way his organization grows, because he's getting about 500 to 550 agents per month now, every single month, every 30 days, 500 to 550 agents. And he said of those 5 to 550, 50% of them are being added to his 7th level. He said 25% are being added to his 6th level. And then, so that's 75%. So 75% of the 550 are going to his 6th and 7th level. And so then that means that only 25% are going to the rest of the 5 levels, which is crazy to think about. And what he said is, there's nothing special about, like what I've done. Right. He said everybody who does this will be in that same position at some point in time where their 7th level will grow bigger than anything they could ever imagine. It just takes the consistency and the time for that to happen, just to your point, Jerome. So yeah, I mean, you just got to put the work and the effort into those front lines, over time, right? Like you put, 1, 2, 3 people a month, if that's your goal. And after 3-4 years, it won't matter, right? Like you will have so many more people than you could ever have imagined. It's starting to happen to me. I'm starting to see it really at this point. I'm at, just under 200 agents, and it's just like, my gosh, it's mind blowing. And I promise you guys that everybody will be here as well if you just focus on that consistent effort every single month. So yeah, I appreciate that. Anything else, guys? We'll wrap it up. All right. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for jumping on the call. We're going to put one thing I was going to share with everybody that I want you guys to be aware of. So I've had that Patreon page to do the replays, and I think I'm finding a different way to make it available to people. So be on the lookout for that. I want it to be accessible. I don't want people to have to pay for this stuff. Like, I did that originally because I wanted to put something to where it wasn't just publicly displayed, because I don't know that we want everything, EXP wise being out there. But I may have found something different. So just be on the lookout for that in this next couple, 2 weeks. I'm working on something. And so, because again, I know a lot of people are like, man, can I share this with somebody? And I'm like, yeah, but it's on Patreon. And the unfortunate thing on Patreon is, even if I wanted to, I can't give free access to it to anybody. Like even Curtis was like, hey, can I jump on that? And I'm like, you got to pay. And so I hate that. Like, I'm not trying to make money on Patreon, honest to God. Like, the extra, $200 a month or something is not as important as like helping all of us build RevShare, helping all of us build EXP. And so I'm just trying to find the easiest way to make this stuff available to everybody.
So Curtis,
be on the lookout for it, guys.
Curtis, Connor has like a assistant that builds websites. So that might be an option for us too.
And that's kind of what I'm alluding to. So I've already got my Kyle Handy page. It's almost going to be like a membership thing where you can just join, and it won't cost anything, but you just have to have an access so that you can log in or whatever. But so again, I'm working on it as we go. So it's kind of a moving thing right now, but I just wanted to let everybody know for now, what I've been doing is I'm just leaving these live videos, because I'm streaming them live to Facebook. I'm leaving them up there. So if you want the replay, just watch it back on Facebook Live for now. And we're going to go from there. So hopefully that works out, guys. And if anybody needs anything, just let me know or let Curtis know. So, but thanks again for always promoting this. We're going to always keep this thing going this Monday and Tuesday. And one of the last thing is tonight, guys, we need your help. Jump on the Tuesday Executive Overview. Again, that's, if you're not doing lunch and learns, you better be on those Tuesday Executive Overviews, because that's really your only consistent way that you can be plugged in to like a presentation every single week. And so we do that at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. Go to Tuesday Executive Overview to register for it, and try and bring a guest, right? It's me and Curtis. We bring the fire. We change up the presentation every now and then, different slides, different ways that we say things. So we always try and, make it exciting for everybody. So cool. Rob, did you have to say something? I know you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what was, like, if you can, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, like, what was your biggest takeaway real quick from, I know you said all the fantastic things, but I've heard like different approaches as far as you shouldn't invite somebody to a lunch and learn on the first visit. And I know that's Brent Gove's theory. What's your take on when you're first talking to somebody with that first call to get them to do the three-way call and all that? Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, I guess so. You shouldn't invite them to a lunch and learn on the first visit, like on the first call that you make to them.
Like if it's going to be my first time, like I'm just talking to you about eXp and I invite you to the lunch and learn. I think I heard Brent say he wouldn't do that. Like that shouldn't be their first exposure. I know there's 9 ways to skin a cat, but just trying to see what you guys got when you were in the trenches over there and like talking to people one-on-one and stuff.
I think it really depends. I mean, it kind of depends on like, the situation, how much information that person has about eXp already. And kind of like, if they're ready, like some people are ready for it. Like they're ready for you to invite them to that, right? Like they want to experience the culture. And for me, and that's kind of what I use if I feel like maybe they already know a little bit about eXp, but they don't know it, right? Like we all know that people will say, oh, I know about eXp, but if you quiz them and you ask them, okay, so how does the stock program work? They wouldn't know a darn thing about it, right? Like, so, they really don't know, but even if they think they know a little bit, what I usually, like the angle that I'll take is, well, hey, I just really want you to see like the culture that we have. I want you to meet some of the people that have, really done some really interesting things just in a short amount of time at eXp and introduce you to them. So I don't know. I mean, if they're in that, like if they're at that spot where they're curious enough to go on it, I invite them. Like, even if I haven't taken the lunch personally or something like that, I have no hesitation, because what else do you have? I mean, you can send them a video, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes they don't watch videos,
Right.
And I want to see them there. So like, I usually tell people like, hey, I'll sit with you. Like, I'm going to be there with you. It's not like I'm just inviting you to an event that I'm not going to be at. So I definitely, I don't know. I mean, that's a hard question, Rob. I mean, I do most of the time. I will invite people, even if it's our first interaction. Like I haven't, I'm not saying I'm doing that to cold leads. Like I'm not going to call somebody I've never spoken to and be like, hey, you need to come to this week's, Friday lunch and learn. I don't do that. So from that standpoint,
Gotcha.
it's correct. But if it's like most of the people that I talk to are warm, I would say, and for them, I just do. I'll say, hey, come to lunch with me. I'd love to see you first and foremost. 2, I'd like to, you to see, what we're doing here, that it's not just, recruiting, that we do have a lot of great stories, a lot of great agents that are sharing, that they do still sell a lot of real estate. Cause I mean, if you go to our lunch and learns here in San Antonio, I mean, you find like the top 5 eXp agents there, right? Like the other day, Matt Bean was there. Him and Carmen are the #1 agent in San Antonio. Myself, Mark Lemons, Rudy Sedano, Alfonso. And so it's like, it's not just about the recruiting. I'm like, hey, I want to introduce you to some really big players in the real estate business, and so sometimes you just got to take a different approach, I guess.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate all you guys do. You know that. Love you guys, man. See you tonight or see you Friday for sure.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
All right,
cool. Well, thanks again for everybody for jumping in. We will, like I say, be here again next Tuesday, and make sure too that you're jumping on the Mondays. So we did a great one yesterday, I think, and we're going to keep those going. So those have been pretty powerful. We're getting 40, 50, 60 people a week. So really just keep it going, keep inviting, guys. All right. We'll talk to everyone later. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.